Welcome everyone to today's Digital Independence Day Switch Party, brought to you by the International Permaculture CoLab, the European Permaculture Network, the Eco Hacker Farm, the Digital Circle of the Permaculture CoLab, and Jason Snow. Today we have Anton and Amy with us, and we will discuss how to get to ethical AI. Interesting topic, difficult topic actually. So how do we start this actually? Amy.
Oh yeah, it is a bit of a can of worms. So I don't know. I think we could start with an overview of what the general feeling of why are people using AI? What do we mean by when we say AI? Because it's, I think, a quite of a broad term. And then we can go into some of the alternatives that are out there already, and some of the questions that probably we don't manage to answer today, but it's good to start thinking about them. How does that sound?
Sounds great. Let's do that.
The flies are attacking my screen, so I'm sorry if you see giant flies.
Yeah, no worries. I have a bumblebee around me here. I actually have a bumblebee manifestation. They somehow crawl into the wall and then appear in my room.
We have a saying here that there's a season for everything, and then when the season comes, there's like a zillion of one species in the house. So you're in good company there.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so AI, like what are we talking about exactly? I think the most common when people, everybody, when you mention in a room of people, I'm using AI, what they actually mean is they're using a large language model and an LLM. And that could be one of various that are running around at the moment. The most common would be ChatGPT and Claude. I think those were the more popular. Have you heard of any others, or are you aware of any others that are also
No,
quite popular at the moment?
no, I think those two are those that when you look at, for example, the European Permaculture Network website, where you see the hits. So it's either ChatGPT or Anthropic. So those are the most common ones. And then from time to time, of course, if you interact with the Google search, you will have Google's AI there giving you answers.
They integrated in the search engine. So there are already two use cases. I mean, the first one is that people are using large language models as a search tool.
Mm.
And the search tool is actually making these referrals, which what you call hits.
Yep.
And the other is that AI as not a large language model, but as an integration within the search engines. And obviously Google is the most popular search engine, which already gives you the AI, the LLM answer or whatever, at the very top of the thing. Hey, Alejandra.
Hey, Alejandro. Welcome.
We're talking about what we mean by AI because it's a broad topic. And so the first, we've identified what most people mean when they say I'm using AI is they're using an LLM model, and at the moment the LLM models that are more popular are ChatGPT and Claude. Claude actually has been really increasing in popularity recently. Lots of people are switching from ChatGPT to Claude, and they're using it as a kind of search engine. And so it's quickly replacing Google, even though Google is still has integrated AI within it and is doing.
I wouldn't say it's replacing it as a search engine. If I look at the numbers, monthly numbers, then about 5% are coming from AI searches, so to say.
That's interesting. I mean, that would be like I think the most common use. And then I see other people are using it in a more work function, and then they mean other things rather than using necessarily an LLM model, and they might use integrated stuff like Canva AI or other models to generate new websites or to optimize something or to design something. And so a lot of these other models then come to play, like image generators vibe coding, which is for people who are watching this and they don't know what it is basically when you describe what you want to one of these AI models and it codes for you from that what we call plain language or verbal language. So those are the most common things. I don't know if you want to say anything else before we go into some of the alternatives out there to these things.
I would say we probably have to think about layers, kind of. I mean, at the end, it's mostly LLM, or no matter what you're kind of using, it's just that the apps or whatever you're using just integrate a layer, but at the end, they are also using an LLM just by a different method.
I think so too. It's definitely LLMs are at the bottom of the use case.
Yeah.
It's just the method by getting there, which is different.
Yes. Okay, so what's out there? What else do we have as an alternative alternative to what we currently are mostly using, or what most people use, ChatGPT and Claude?
I dipped my toe and I started testing this week Green PT, which is it's basically a more ecologically friendly LLM model, which is hosted in Europe. And yeah, I've been testing it for different things. I must say, I had a subscription before with OpenAI, because I was using ChatGPT for my work, and I'm looking to replace it. So it's a self-interested test. And I have real use for it. Not that I'm testing random things. I actually can see, I'm looking to see if I can replace it completely. It does have interesting features similar to OpenAI, ChatGPT. So you can create projects. You can have the usual chat kind of function that you have there. So I was able to create a couple of projects that I could replicate. I could upload the source, basically source documents, which I wanted to use because I don't want any model that I'm using to be hallucinating. That's very important to me. And I also optimize the prompt, the way I use the prompt. So it's not a simple prompt which I string together like in one sentence, but usually it's a complex prompt. I don't know, a couple of pages long. Really, it can be very detailed and it can produce quite interesting results. What I noticed that I really liked was that it tells me how much electricity this one prompt has generated. So how much of a carbon footprint I have done by doing this action, and then I can think about in my own private life or whatever how I want to take care of that. Whether I don't know, purchasing some carbon credits or planting more trees in my garden. So it gives me a bit more overview of how much I'm using, and then I can decide what to do with that. What I noticed is that when I upload more than two sources, which is usually the case because these are complex things I'm trying to do, then it seems to limit itself to save energy, or I don't know why actually. But the way it works is that if I upload 10 documents, it will look at 4 of them. And then the answer, of course, is not complete enough for me to be able to use it. So that's a real challenge. And if I compare it like for like with OpenAI, the ChatGPT, for example, with the thinking model, the thinking model gives me a more complete result. So from a use case perspective, the more complex the prompt and the output that I need, I might think about maybe this is not enough to replace it completely. So that's like one snagging point. I do think it's getting better, and you can decide whether your responses are. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was this one. You can decide whether you can your results can help educate train the LLM or not. I can't remember if it's this one or if it's the other one. And so that's the one I tried. Has anyone else tried a different one, maybe that they can share?
So I tried local ones. I installed Olama, and then use those that my graphics card is able to run. So that means basically the smallest ones possible. And I tested Gwen, and what's the other one? Just let me check. Let me open one more. And I tested Gamma. So with Gamma, I was actually pretty surprised. So what would be my first question? I was like, tell me something about permaculture. And it actually is surprisingly kind of correctly referred what it is, kind of how it works, who invented it, and so on and so on. The nicest part was it was slow. It's not like you get an instant reaction or so. It was slow, and you actually can see the whole thing sinking. Like, oh, the person is asking me in English, so I have to give feedback in English. The person is asking me about permaculture. I have to check about permaculture itself. How many principles should I give? Probably a novice. Let's just give 3. So you could really see all these options or this kind of thinking that the system did before it brought out the answer. So quite interesting, I would say. Nice experience. But yeah, it takes time. It's not fast. You need to wait. Alejandra, have you tried something?
Yeah, I have tried something. I am not satisfied in the sense at present I doubt there's an ethical alternative. I've been playing around with Taura lately. It's the only model I have used. Is a model developed by 2 Palestinian brothers, and is supposed to have a lower carbon consumption. But I think that the way that they keep it low is because the free version allows you for free only 5 inputs. So you are either very, very, very good in your quest, or I have compared results from ChatGPT and Taura, asking the same, using the same prompts, and the first 2 questions was okay. I don't really think it's comparable. I was using it to research things about cat medications. So I think that the amount of data that ChatGPT can harvest is way before, and the responses were way more complex. And I try personally not to use it almost at all for work or in my personal life, and this was just a testing thing. And when all AI started, I think the most amusing time for me was playing with Midjourney, because it felt quite amazing what it could do, but very early. I mean, past the curiosity and this new tool that you can play with, I think that for me personally, the downsides are way beyond the good things that it can bring. And I would like to comment on what both of you have just mentioned, that Unique have used the local ones, and you say it takes time. I love that, because I feel it has been marketed as time saving and life saving, and what is gonna change your productivity from 0 to 1 to 10 to for me it's from 0 to 1. Sorry. It's been marketed for all these purposes of and advantages of going really fast. And I think, well, if you really want to check on hallucinations, want to check the sources, want to have some overview on the consumption of water, and electricity, on the impacts worldwide of this, it becomes quite tricky and quite lengthy. And yeah, I think that's my personal experience. Anton?
Hello.
Oh.
I can talk about open source alternatives to code generation for a bit. Let me just share my screen. There we go, if you can see that. So I'm going to do a small live experiment of comparing Claude, which is the default for sort of proprietary code generation, and OpenCode, which is a free software roughly equivalent to it. However, I'm going to run a local model, so I don't rely on proprietary models. So OpenCode doesn't actually recommend that you do this because it recommends this Zen thing, which is effectively a bridge for proprietary models. So you're using an open tool, but you're still relying on the proprietary models trained by big corporations. Well, locally, I'm going to use this Quen 2.5 model, which also comes from China, Alibaba, but it is an open weight model, which arguably is better. But on the other hand, you could also argue that you're just trading American big tech for Chinese big tech. And is that really much better? So as an example of problem I'm going to give it, here we have the Digital Circle website. It looks like that. But if you look at it from a local repository, the styling doesn't quite work and it looks a little bit broken. So I'm going to use the same prompt and I will ask both Claude and OpenCode with Quen why that is. If I can paste into this window. No, I cannot. I'll just type it in. So there we go. Let me set them off. And oh, look, the demo didn't work. My model has not been found. Oh, I will obviously need to solve that.
Do you mean the local model?
The local model, yes, has gone missing.
Okay.
It was working this morning, but now it's gone. Yes.
Okay, so maybe while Anton figures that one out, I could do a little demo of GreenPT if people are interested in this alternative that you can use. Do you want to stop sharing, Anton? Bear with me.
Very interesting to see. Thank you.
So this is GreenPT, as you can see. This basically has the same appearance as any other LLMs. The website is chat.greenpt.ai. It tells you what you can help with today. And for example, if I click here on one example, let's go up a bit. I gave it my first prompt is always to create the professional prompt, and I ask it what that should be. It gives me the master prompt, which, as you can see, is very detailed. And then I tell it to run the prompt, and it gives me the output. On the bottom here, the environmental impact, it gives me clearly the environmental impact. It also gives me some tips, for example, and this is quite aligned with what other LLM companies have been reporting. Basically, people say thank you to the machine. Thanks is great, but let's not do that because that uses extra electricity. It also gives people some tips about being more specific in the prompt, how to structure them. In this case, it's to keep it short because it depends what output you want. In this case, I don't keep it short because I want a very detailed output, and so on. Limit the outputs, one topic at a time, and so on. And here you can also learn about the calculations, and it will basically take you to a website where these carbon calculations are. So it depends really what your interest is. If your interest is more that on the model and how it's performing, then actually the prompt guide is more useful to you than the calculations. If I show the example of the project, you can see here I have one project. If I click on it, it should give me, I can edit this. As you can see, I have a knowledge base, which I have uploaded here. And I can select if there's more, or I can upload files from my computer to add to that knowledge base. The same as you can do with other LLM models. What's interesting on this one, for example, with one prompt, this is the prompt that failed because the sources, it only picked up 4 of my 10 sources, which I knew wasn't enough to give me a good output, and I was reading through it, and basically that wasn't good enough. By comparison, if I open the other one, it looks probably the same, right? And this was the same prompt. I click on it. Everything takes time to load this one on this machine. The output is basically a set of documents which I had asked for in the format that I wanted. So 6 documents in this case. What I really liked about GPT is that it's still useful if you don't have that many sources, and if your query is not that big, it's still good enough. Like if it's still good enough to produce a result that is satisfactory. It also has a number of apps which are interesting if you're into automating some of the stuff that you wanted to do. Every time I click on someone new, it takes forever to load. But basically, I think for day-to-day usage, I would prefer to use GreenPT rather than ChatGPT because you don't need that much computing power to run a basic query. So it really depends on the use case. Another model which was interesting, I haven't tested it in detail yet, is Mistral. GreenPT also uses Mistral as the under base to it, the under model. Mistral is hosted in France, so it's GDPR compliant and very good, based in Europe. So if you want to avoid the large American companies, which are doing a lot of damage to the environment and to the local population, the European-based one is always more ethical. So if we're comparing like for like, the European-hosted models are at the moment better and more conscientious. In this case, also more green in terms of ethical usage and how they're powered. Of course, then the output depends. It depends whether what your use case is, to whether the model is suitable or not. And I think when it comes down to for people to choose the models, they will probably have to right now choose more than one model in order to meet all your needs, because it's not possible with the one non-US tool to cover everything. Like for the more complex stuff, I still have to use probably OpenAI at the moment, because the models that are available in Europe are not giving me a sufficient result, good enough result. And I think that's a big thing, because for each model you have to pay, right? You can use the free version. I'm on the Green PT week trial for free, and then it's a smaller amount than I would pay for the OpenAI model per month. So it would still probably be worth it if I'm using it for my work and I can integrate it within my pricing. I can justify the cost. And for the day-to-day user, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if most day-to-day users have a pro subscription or stick with the free versions. But Mistral also has a good free version, which people could try, and I can share that as well. So you can also have a look at what that looks like. It is. Share my screen. Is it doing it? Yes, no, maybe not.
Okay, looks good.
Okay, so I'm doing network connections. Fine. Is it doing it now? Maybe I have to close things. Let me try closing things.
Okay, so we have two options as here. We have the Green GPT and the Mistral, and basically Green GPT is also using Mistral as its base. Nice. Okay. So we have those that are subscription-based that we can use, that offer free versions, and then we have the local ones that we can use if we have a good enough computer to do so. Which actually also is a crux, because due to the demand on data centers and on GPUs, all that stuff is pricey nowadays. So it's like a hand-egg problem that we have here. Anton, how far you're down with your showcase? Have you found the problem?
I'm re-downloading the model, which is 9 gigabytes in size, so it's still downloading.
Okay, yeah, that takes time.
Which is another issue. It's not instant on. There is a setup cost.
Yeah, and 9 gigabyte, it sounds like a smaller model. It's not like I have seen larger models with a lot more.
It is what I can run locally. Again, local hardware availability also limits what you can run.
Yeah.
It also limits the quality of the output you're going to get.
Yeah.
And it also limits the speed at which you're going to get the output, which again pushes people away from local LLMs.
Yeah.
Because people may not necessarily have 3,000 or 6,000 for good GPU to run locally.
Yeah, no doubt.
To get good results. They might as well just pay $20 or $15 and get similar results from the cloud.
Yeah, true. So have you been using the Claude Code for coding, for help, or for actually web coding?
I have been experimenting with it, yes.
Okay, so what's your take on it, getting support?
With the latest versions, the code quality generated is on par, if not better, than human generated.
Yeah.
And the speed is also in excess of human speed.
Yeah, I just read an article where they are saying that 80% is already machine-written code when at Claude, at Anthropic. So that's already kind of at that level.
And it is also cheaper than hiring a human to do the same thing. Just for purely code generation.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're, say, a software developer, the actual coding is maybe 20 to 30% of your time.
Yeah.
And the other 60% is completely other and related tasks.
Yeah.
So it doesn't completely replace them, but it does replace that significant chunk.
Yeah. And it's probably going or increasing over the next years, months, weeks.
Definitely increasing. I mean, I've been in the Spanish government is offering. Anton, could you mute yourself? Because I hear myself in the other mic. The Spanish government is giving free courses for called AI at Work, and basically they're training all these small, medium entrepreneurs to use AI. And a part of the course is basically how to automate stuff. So they're teaching them all kinds of tools like BotPress. So they make bots for their websites, answer queries, and everything hooks up super easy with these API. If you look on BotPress, it's super easy. So what was before complicated is now very simple. Of course, it's simple as long as it works. As soon as something doesn't work, then there's still going to be the need for developers to do it. However, I have tried vibe coding. I use Visual Code, and it has GitHub code integrated with it. Not GitHub, yeah, GitHub code. And basically, it's hooked up to all the models. So I can see it switching between models to make the best use of the answers. And the output is still very buggy. So you still have to be you still have to know, have some development experience to be able to fix what the code comes up with, but it's much faster. Something that used to take me weeks to code, I was able to do in, I don't know, 8 hours, a whole week of work. So it's kind of good enough to use. The question is,
Yeah, sorry, go on. I will ask later once you're finished.
The question for me is it what to do with that? How many apps are there's gonna be an influx of apps, of websites, of these half broken things with buggy things on them, and then if you don't have the necessary help or finances to fix them, then you are basically filling the internet with low quality outputs. And this is already happening in terms of content, and it will also happen in terms of software that's going to be out there. So, yeah.
So my question would be, have you learned anything? Like, I mean, when you have coded yourself and it took you weeks, you kind of learned something when you were doing that. You had to check things up. How did that work? How does that work? And kind of went from documentation to documentation and tried something and restarted. And with the vibe code, did you learn anything?
Yes.
Okay.
For example, what I didn't know how to, first of all, I'm a self-taught developer, so I don't have any formal education in coding, and everything I have been self-taught, teaching myself the last 10 years. So I start from that premise. So I'm always learning something because I'm always facing things I don't know. With this one specific project, I was looking at encryption because the app I was vibe coding held personal data, and I wanted to understand how the app was actually tackling that issue. Like, how is it doing that? And so as part of the process, the way I was vibe coding it was to also explain it to me, that it was doing it, but it should explain to me what is the solution and how it hangs together, so that at the end of the process, I understood how my app hangs together. So I can, so I learned. So I had to build into my prompts my learning process. And if I hadn't done that intentionally, then no, you would learn nothing, and you still don't learn nothing. But for example, I learned lots about parsing. For example, I wanted it to parse information. It's a personal finance app. I wanted to parse information from PDFs that are invoices. So certain fields to automatically parse them from a PDF into the app. And it had to explain to me how this kind of parsing was working. And it was amazing that it could do it. But it was even better that I could understand it because it was explaining it to me in real time. So from a learning perspective, one can learn from it if they want to. If I could code it, if the question is, can I code it after doing this? No, I cannot code it on my own. But I could probably reverse engineer, like look at the code and figure out which bits are doing what.
That would be my kind of next question. Would you be able, that if the AI has been taken away, shut down, whatever, to fix something in that code?
I think that would still be a challenge, that I can ask maybe a better question today now. Yes, I probably could, but I don't think I could necessarily debug something complicated, even if I coded it myself.
Yeah.
Whereas with previous apps, mind you, I think it's very, the debugging is a skill that comes at an advanced stage of the learning. It's like making jokes after you learn a language. This comes later, after you learn how to code.
Yep.
And so I don't think that I would be at that stage. I also try to make it code in languages that I understand and that I have previously studied. Whereas, for example, someone with zero knowledge of code will just say code it and code it, and then they don't care what language it's using or how it's structured or that it's annotated properly.
Yeah.
And so the way I vibe code is not best, perhaps, how other people with zero experience or zero willingness to learn would do it.
You use it from a certain aspect and level on, and not with zero starting knowledge.
Exactly. Exactly. And the way I see the people that were in this course, the AI at Work course, I can see also that starting from zero is much harder, even with vibe coding. So the way that we describe things as coders, as developers, is not the same way that non-coders describe it. And the way that the better it is described, so the better the prompt, will still produce a much less problematic output. So there is actually a prompt skill also there. And the more information and background understanding of how coding works, the easier it is for someone like me with some experience to pick up even these no-code apps and A8 and all of this stuff. And Make, for example, Make is an app that makes all these AI tools hang together and provide all kinds of things for people. If you have a background, it gives you a much better output, always.
Yeah, I compare it to like sometimes to an exoskeleton, like a worker would have when working in an environment where they have to lift heavy things. You kind of then, with the eye, could lift stuff that you wouldn't have been able to lift before. So, yeah, web coding. Anton, you're sharing your screen. Are you ready?
Yes, the model has re-downloaded, so let's see if it now works with the open code one. It's the same prompt, and if you look, the Claude code on top has already managed to give me a response. It found the trivial bug that there is an extra slash, and if you remove the slash, everything works. The model at the bottom is quite simple, but the bug is the most trivialist that you can possibly think of. So I'm giving it the best chance I can.
So if we look at the Claude code, how many tokens have you used?
Let's see if it can tell me this. It's currently in a prompt, so I'll just wait for a bit.
Okay.
Because if it fixes it, then the other one will not have an opportunity to find the bug.
Just to be clear, so I think what I saw was something above 1,400 tokens or so, what it used. And it actually took quite some time. And my best guess at the moment is that if Amy or I would have looked at the source code, we would have seen the problem. Like immediately.
Quite likely. But I also give it a very simple problem on purpose. Yeah. Because I want to give the open source one a good chance of success.
Yeah.
If I give it a complex task, it would not be able to solve it within the window we have here of this meeting.
So I mean, this issue with the tokens. Could you mute yourself, Anton? There's two things there. First, that the issue with the tokens, so that we are at the mercy of these proprietary companies about how much computing power we can use and when we can use it because of the tokens. And they actually, the decisions are arbitrary, meaning I don't know, tomorrow they will wake up and say I am only allowed 1 token or 0 tokens because I've burned through my tokens this month. And if I want more, I have to pay more money. And therefore, from an access perspective, it puts resources, as always, I suppose, within capitalism, to the people who can pay more. Right? I can pay more, I have more access. Whereas actually, with our open source and open knowledge, we would like that knowledge and ability to make things happen is more democratized and not necessarily depending on money. So this is already challenges the kind of ethical approach of how we manage resources and so on. And this is because the models are hosted elsewhere. And by contrast, I could never run an OpenAI LLM model equivalent in my house because I don't have a data center in my backyard and I don't have the ability to generate so much power. And so this is always the difficulty between the difficulty between the resource allocation and resource access. And also there is an element of what am I using it for? Like, is this appropriate use of the technology and the energy that we have? So if I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm putting in, I don't know, ChatGPT, please tell me my nearest vegan restaurant. Let's ask Google. I mean, if you go on Google Maps, you can use a filter and it gives you this because it's already there. I don't need to ask ChatGPT this, and I don't need to take away, use so much computing power to run such a query. So I think that's a part of the question. The same, like you said, maybe if you read through the code, you'll be able to find the mistake faster. But the trend is that it's a trending new tool, and so people are using it as a default for everything. It's like saying, it's a new electric toothbrush, and suddenly we're cleaning the toilet with the electric toothbrush. Maybe that's not the best use of the tool, right? In this case. And so I think that begs the question of how do we educate ourselves and others into what is the best use case for such a tool and and which model, and how to access the slower model. I also saw one that makes AI responses look slow on purpose to slow everything down. That was interesting. I think Alejandra shared it. So for me, it's like two things. One, the education of people to optimize the prompts, so you have less prompts for the outputs that you want. To use the correct model for your use case, and to understand that there is such a thing, and in some cases not to use AI at all if your use case doesn't require it. Alejandra.
I wanted to be more precise on something because I think there's so many automations that the use of LLM is largely imposed on people. It's like we have been sent, I love the metaphor of the electric toothbrush. We have been sent for free this new tool, and now we are brushing the walls with it. We are not thinking anymore, like, because I'm quite I'm not keen at all in this, even though I understand it is happening and this is it, and obviously becoming active learners is very important. But I will also stress for the people that are watching this that, like, the use that you guys are showing has a lot of previous knowledge. I mean, I think it's important to share this. I think I may share a bit more of her journey than Anton or Dominic, but they are quite experienced software engineer, coders, people, technologies that have been doing this for decades. So it's a very different case of using that and say it is helping me automate or making slightly faster some tasks that are might be repetitive, that with the amount of knowledge that I have gathered in this decade makes sense, compared to can you please write an email with a certain tone, and that is to me detrimental for humanity at large. It's very funny, the slowdown LLM. I want to do it to some friends that are obsessed with language machines, and I just want to install that on their computers. I'm really naughty. It is a Sam Levin tool, and he admitted he used it Claude to develop it, and then eventually he noticed it started working, so he had to finish the work by itself. That's a funny anecdote. Okay, that's me. Anton, would you like to tell us something?
Well, as we can see, all my cores are still being used to try to figure out the case of this extra slash, which we can actually see clearly if I open the source. There is one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. It's the same pattern all over the place. But ultimately, it's fixable with a literal one set statement. Because the website is small, yes, it's 126 lines. That's all it needs to look at. There is nothing else. This is it. Claude actually got through it in a couple of minutes of compute and managed to output this, where it found the problem and it knows how to fix it and is offering to fix it. This running on my hardware, which is a typical dev laptop, still running. So we'll see how long it takes.
We have some 11 minutes left, so more cooling to your cores, overclock it.
I think overclock it is gonna be a term, definitely, where we try to do everything with Claude or with ChatGPT. Instead of examining should I use this tool for this, or should I take 10 minutes to?
Well, the thing about these tools is that LLMs have not been designed for any specific kind of thinking. The same models, or roughly the same models, have been used to solve math problems which have not been solved before, and make plans for holidays for people and which things to visit. So they're not like a toothbrush, which has been designed to clean your teeth, as much as a generic information processing thing, where you throw data in and hopefully something useful comes out. And it seems to do remarkably well at a very wide range of tasks, which is why it has become so widespread, because it can do all these tasks reasonably well. It also does them surprisingly poorly in some cases, because people just have higher expectations of it than it is capable of delivering, because it's really just a token predictor. It predicts the next token. It doesn't do anything else. It doesn't have any actual intelligence. It doesn't really know what you're doing. And if you set it to control a ship, it doesn't actually know that it is driving a ship or what it. So if it crashes it into the side of a canal, well, that's just how it goes.
Yep, I think there were already some very interesting experiments where they let an LML run a coffee shop or so. And then the LLM bought all kinds of stuff and forget to actually have people on the counter, and all kinds of weird things happened. And I think there's also this example where they just gave it access to manage a vending machine, and I think it got bankrupt because it got corrupted by some people that kind of tricked the LLM in doing things that it wouldn't do, like buying Xboxes or so. So yeah.
Most recent example I'm aware of is Instagram. So it employed AI in its customer support, and people were able to trick Instagram's customer support AI into giving over accounts to them that they had no control over, and thousands of accounts were just handed over by Instagram to these hackers who were just asking it nicely, saying, hello, I'm actually this person, I can't get into my account. And if you ask it nicely enough times, it will sometimes just give you over the account because it's a probabilistic model. So 99 times out of 100, it will say, what the hell, you're not this person at all. But 1 in 100 times or similar, it will say, yeah, actually, you seem legit. I know you don't control that email anymore. Yeah, you changed your email, it happens. Here's the same account in a new email. Happy to help. Because they're also wired to be helpful. Yes, we train them to be helpful to us. They want to help whoever's interacting with them.
Yep, true. But I think the ratio that you described with the 100, that also is kind of the same with humans. I mean, I listen to kind of calls for quality reason and at some big telecom infrastructure thingy, and there were guys, they were giving out passwords. They get tricked kind of by the person on the phone to give that stuff out.
It's just social engineering.
Yeah, social engineering. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it brings us nicely onto the topic of cybersecurity, which is a big issue, Anton.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking. There is output. What? I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, but what does that say? Web fetch arguments URL. It wants to fetch something, but
yes. So it now decided it wants to actually look at what my website looks like when it fetches it.
so it already stopped, or there's no processing anymore. You have to enter something, right?
Yeah, it's waiting for my input.
Yeah, so you have to tell it where to fetch things, or okay.
This is definitely taking longer than a developer would have taken, that's for sure. So it doesn't always save time, as it turns out. You know what you're
Not
doing.
when you use it locally on a typical dev setup, which is why people use the proprietary cloud models. I think this demonstrates it rather well.
Yeah.
Because with the Claude, we have a solution, and if I hit enter here, it will just do it, and that's it. And that's the last we'll see of that bug.
I don't know if this is the right moment to share this, but I have some data on how people are using AI nowadays in 2026, and at the first position is therapy companionship. Second, troubleshooting, fair enough. 3, fun and nonsense. 4, fan fiction and storytelling. 5th, technical use of software. There's 100 that I find really concerning that is used mainly for therapy and companionship. And that's a connection to the social engineering and to the imposition from the big models and preparatory services for everybody to use this.
I agree with you. I mean, it's, in my opinion, shocking that people would, instead of going to therapy, talk to a machine, which has zero idea of how to, there is no training for this. It only has what's available there on the internet, which could be anything. And that there are recorded cases of suicides. On the third use, you said, I think, character and fan fiction and stuff. Character AI has just now, after 2 or 3 suicides of teens, become only available to adults. So the way that these companies respond, first of all, it's too slow to safeguard the user. It's too slow. And a lot of people forget that they're talking to a machine, someone else's computer. This is not ethereal or fluffy, it's not confidential at all. That all of what you're feeding it there, it goes to train the machine further. I even heard of a case of someone when their parent died, they wanted to sort out the paperwork, so they fed it to the machine. All of it. Imagine your whole life, bank statements, accounts, legal documents. Please don't do this. If you're listening to this, do not feed your machine any personal information. Nothing. No card details. No passwords. No nothing. You don't do this. Any machine is hackable. Any machine is hackable these days. Cybersecurity issues are really, really frequent and constantly. We are constantly fighting them. Like from the digital circle perspective, we're all constantly patching this and that and looking out for new attacks. And so your data is not safe. And for some people, they might think, oh, but I have nothing to hide. Like this is a common thing with data. But actually, yes, because anybody can weaponize that. Anyone can take over your social media account and make posts or defraud other people that are on your network. So be very careful what you do with this. And definitely, AI is not a place where you look for help. If you need help or you want to make connections, then join a network. The EUPN is an excellent place where to meet new people and talk about your projects and what have you. The CoLab the same. There is infinite amounts of social groups which you can join, maybe locally to you, go and volunteer somewhere. I can guarantee you 100% better to volunteer for a charity any day of the week than to go on a session of therapy with an AI.
To expand on that slightly, there is specific additional danger to LLMs, is that whatever you give to it, if it's run in the cloud, it will probably be used for training future LLMs, at which point whatever you told it will make it into the model, and then somebody will be able to trick the model into revealing the information to them pretty much verbatim. To the point of just even revealing the entire log of the conversation with you, almost word for word. So yeah, whatever you say to an LLM, even if it's a proprietary one, should probably be considered as public. As for the Claude thing, I hit the enter. It did the change. Then it loaded it in a Chrome, took a screenshot from a file. Then it started a web server locally. It then accessed it through a web server, took another screenshot, and then compared the two screenshots to verify that they now look the same. And at that point, it was happy that it has fixed the bug.
Wow, okay. The amount of energy we have used for that, I don't want to know.
But I did not need to prompt for that. It just knew to do that because it wanted to fix my bug. And it used 12,000 tokens for the entire thing.
And of course, it always prompts you for the next thing. So it makes suggestions of what else you could do now and all this jazz, right?
This one, not so much. I mean, at the bottom it says the changes are uncommitted, say the word, but I can also just commit it myself. It's git commit. But I suppose maybe one day people will just get so lazy they will just say, yeah, just do the commit. I'm too lazy to think of a commit message myself. I'm sure it will generate an appropriate one.
Oh, this we know. It makes beautiful commit messages. I've tried this. Yeah.
There we go.
Very, very detailed. And whereas you would have put it in a couple of words, it makes a whole drama of it.
Yes, but this bug deserves maybe a word or two at most. This is not a... There is no need to write world and peace describing the extra slash in a 120-line file.
Okay, so we are coming to an end. Thank you, Anton, for the demonstration. So that takes a while. Okay. Okay.
So to close the session, we've covered a number of conversations today. First of all, that there are ethical LLMs out there and with ethical we mean that are hosted in Europe, which means they are GDPR compliant, and that they are hosted in places where green energy is used. You can see how much energy you're using. You can learn more about how to craft your prompts, so that you're a bit more efficient with that. And also to think a little bit about your use case. Like, could this have been a no AI search? If you want, DuckDuckGo has a no AI option for the search engine now. So, and that's much less energy. So to give you a comparison, Google search, even in Google or Ecosia or DuckDuckGo, is much less energy than running an AI query. So could this have been? It's the classic, could this have been an email rather than a meeting? So the same prospect, right? Less energy used. And to give these the green options a try, we've got Green PT and Mistral and Taura. Give them a whirl and see how that goes, and why not? I mean, it could be that for more complex stuff you still have to use the US models, but not for everything.
Yes.
Any takeaways? Everyone else, maybe we do a round.
Yeah, I would always add, if you have the GPU power, try a local LLM. So you have your levels of ethics that you can apply. Of course, first go with the obvious one is the European choice with GDPR compliancy, and they're transparent in energy and water usage. And then if you have the GPU power on your own computer, go for a local one. Yeah, and let's see what the future brings. Hopefully it will stop at one point, at least the commercialization of the whole thingy, bringing more and more consumer products from it too fast. Okay, that's me. Thank you.
Alejandra?
I think we covered a lot of different relevant subjects, and I hope we can keep having these conversations and really think about, do I need this? Can I do without? And just read a book. And
yes. So for generation of content like code, if you have the compute, I'm guessing you can have much better results than me with local generation. But if you have your typical dev laptop, then it's not really a viable option, at which point you need to consider what other options are there. There is always the option of just writing the code yourself. It takes similar amount of time and gets very similar quality of results. And you get to exercise your brain a bit, so maybe there is a bit of that advantage. Don't get skill fade. But at the same time, you can run 3, 4, 5 Claudes in parallel, which you can't really do with your own brain, and that's like having an entire dev team at your fingertips. So that's harder to reproduce without like getting an actual team of people.
Okay, then this is it. Welcome back. Next month, first Sunday of the month is always the Digital Independence Day. And here at the International CoLab and the European Permaculture Network, we have the switch parties. So let's check. The next one then is on the 5th of July. And I think we have Anton back with, we are switching to Linux. Am I right?
No, we're switching to Matrix.
Oh, we're switching to Matrix. Cool. Yes. So stay tuned for switch to Matrix. From where are we switching away? Like Discord?
From Discord.
Okay. Yes, that's a good one. Let's do that. Okay. So everyone, please join us again next month. Okay. Until then, have a good time, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.